Friends, it's Unicorn and saying hi from a Monday lunchtime. I wanted to start a reading vlog today because I can't wait to go back to a normal routine since I just came back from New York City yesterday. The trip was amazing. If you have been following on my Instagram, you'll see all the stories that I posted about it. Pretty much I went to like museums during the day and watched musicals every night when I was in there. It's such a trip that made me appreciate my life and made me want to live harder. For this week, I have some paintings that I needed to do, and also I have 3 books on my TBR. So these are the 3 books that I want to finish reading this week. The first one is The Empire of Pain by Patrick Radden Keefe. This is a book that I've been seeing everywhere, and I actually picked it up at the in New York City because I didn't actually take any books with me. I was like, I want to travel light, so I only had one backpack and I wanted to enjoy my time there. However, I had a bit of waiting time the other day, so I picked up this one at a train stop. This is a nonfiction book about the Sackler family, who was one of the richest family in the world, and it turned out they are responsible for some opiate crisis in America. And I already read about 30 pages that day, and the writing is really, really good. I was hooked immediately, so I wanted to continue and finish it, reading it this week. And the second book I'm also in the middle of already is The Story of the Lost Child by Elena Ferrante and translated by Anne Golston. This is the 4th book in the Neapolitan novel series, and there's nothing more I can say about it. I loved the whole series. I finished or like binged the first 3 books last year, but I didn't get to the 4th one before I went in the depressed episode. So this one that I'm listening it to on a audiobook when I'm painting, and I'm already 1/3 of the book in, so I'm gonna finish the audiobook this week. And this is a graphic memoir, The Best We Could Do by T. Boy. This is a memoir about the author's family's journey escaping from the war-torn Vietnam to America and the difficulty that they encountered. I wanted to read this book long before, but for some reason I just didn't get to it. I actually signed up to a book club for tomorrow to discuss about this book, but I don't think I have time to attend the book club. Like, I don't have time to finish this book before the book club, but I still want to read it. And that is the 3 books on my TBR. And I also finished I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki by Bixi Hub and translated by Anton Her earlier this month, and I really, really love this book. This is a memoir about the author's mental health, mainly anxiety and depression, and a lot of things that resonated with me, which I really, really loved. I think I will talk about it more in a wrap-up. And that's all the 3 books on my TBR. If you look at the spines of them, they're actually pretty big books, but one of them is a audiobook and the other one is a graphic memoir. The only physical book that I'm reading is The Empire of Pain, which is one that I already very much into. So I have confidence that I will finish the book, the 3 books in this week. And as of the plan for today, as I said, it's already the lunchtime. So this afternoon, I need to work on this painting, which I wanted to finish before I go to New York, but I think the skies and the second layer of the mountain still need some touch-ups, and also maybe working on that one. It's a sketch, pretty brief sketch over there. It's a tree by the sea or something like that. Working on that, and I also want to sort of my important document drawer. I moved last March and the drawer was so messy and I didn't touch it after I moved here. So, and it's tax season again, so I need to get that sorted maybe this evening. I also will listening to the audiobook of The Story of the Lost Child when I'm painting today, so I guess I'll update you guys later.
His journal, another, originally from Philadelphia, in America.
Hi friends, it's much later in the day. I have just finished dinner, which we had some dumplings because it's the third day of the Chinese New Year, so we're still in a little bit of celebration mood. For New Year's, we usually eat dumplings on the first day and then noodles on the second day. But I didn't have the chance to eat dumplings until today, so we had that. And I also finished the painting behind me. I'll show you later, but first I want to update you on some books that I have listened to. So I am more into this book than I thought. I'm a little bit short on 50% of the book now, and I have to say I am in love with this series every time I pick it up, and I just couldn't stop listening. First thing I want to say is there's a certain character who I have a love-hate relationship with, and also the protagonist has a love-hate relationship with. And I just feel like so passionately angry about some things that this character does in the book. And I was just like, my mood was totally with the protagonist the whole time this afternoon. And the other thing is the main plot of the book is about to hit a peak, and everything is so turbulent right now, and everything is fascinating. It's just fantastic. And when I have to stop listening to this because of things in life, and I feel so sad. And I know this series is going to end in another 50% of this book, so that actually makes me a little bit sad, but I also want to know what happens next. But now, like I said, I've already finished dinner, and I'm going to sort out my document drawer in order to prepare for the text season. So I'm gonna do that, but let me show you my painting. So because it's after dark, so the painting under the artificial light is all off in colors, and I don't even know how to show you. This is with the other lamp on, and this is the, I'm calling it for now. I know I can still work on the skies or something, but if I'm gonna do that, I'll be too into the details, you know, so I'm calling it for this painting. I think after it dries, I'll just sign my name there. And this is everything that in that drawer, and my goal is to shred everything that I don't need and put the rest of it orderly into the bin over there. And I have all sorts of help. I have a big glass of water, I have my favorite anime in Chinese, Detective Conan, going on, and also a glass of wine to keep my sanity. So let's do it. So it's finally done, and it's already 10 o'clock in the evening, and I don't know how long it took me, but let me show you the different categories of my documents are beautifully in these folders, zipper folders, and I have some like extra folders here, and the graduation and things, and a lot of like, I don't know, important things. And I also found a playbill of Hamilton in my important document drawer. It's telling you that how important this musical is to me. And I have watched, I think like 8 episodes of Conan. And now I am going to read some The Best We Could Do because I have no brain power to process nonfiction right now. So some graphic novel it is. My friends, it's the next day and it's after lunchtime, and it's also the second time that I'm updating you guys because my memory card for the camera just died. It wouldn't read or anything, so I think it's just broke. Luckily, I have another one, so here we go again. I just wanted to update you on my thoughts of The Best We Could Do since I read about 130 pages yesterday. It was a quick read, of course, because it's a graphic novel and graphic memoir, sorry. And I was so hooked when I started reading it. The story actually started with the labor of the author, which was pretty intense and also very heavy, and it made me a little bit uncomfortable, to be honest, because I was not prepared to see a woman's labor stories. But it went from there, became a reflection of the author and about, and she was, oh, my hands are shaking, sorry. And she was talking about and reflecting on the start of a life and going back in time, and the story became a retrospect of her family story, including her parents and her grandparents. A lot of their stories are, of course, very poignant and depressing, but I feel like it's also very beautiful because the author is trying to understand the behavior and the thoughts behind her parents and trying to make peace of her family story. So I feel like the whole thing is very important. And also, it's a reminder for me, at least, of how close those things happened to us still. A lot of the stories happened during World War II or after World War II, and a lot of the places and countries she mentioned are, of course, Asian countries. So personally, to me, it's a reminder of we haven't had a very long peaceful time yet. A lot of the timestamps she mentioned are close to my parents and or grandparents, and the places was the places that I'm familiar with when I was little. And also, the art of this book is matching the story so well. A lot of times, I can feel the sorrow from the drawings and paintings, and also I can feel the gap between the generations. One detail is when the author was talking about the story of her dad, she actually drew her dad as a little boy. She was like talking about and talking with the past of her dad. I feel like that's so beautiful because when you're trying to understand someone, especially if they are traumatized when they're young, you're actually talking to the time when they were traumatized, and that's so beautifully done in the story. Yeah, that's my thoughts so far. It's a quick read, like I said, so I guess I'll just finish it today later. And as of the plan for this afternoon, I'm going to work on the painting behind me and also keep listening to the story of the lost child. I can't wait to find out what happened next. Just want to give you an update of the painting before the sunset completely. I also want to update on the book, The Story of the Lost Child. I have listening to a lot of the book when I was painting, and I'm already 80% in, 79%. And the story so far is getting more and more exciting. And I have to say that a lot of the clues were planted in the first book or second book, and by that time I thought it was just the plot of the book, the plot of the story will become more and more important in the later stories, and they actually play a very important role to the community. And I just feel like that's something that is very fantastic to discover. And also, the twisted relationship between the two characters are fascinating. They are so complicated. They are constantly loving each other, but also in a competition. Sometimes I feel like they leave to prove to the other character that they are who they are. So yeah, it's just I'm so into the story right now. And also, I have to make another comment because at one point the author was referenced about the time that they live in, and the book was suddenly like the Chernobyl just happened in Russia, in the Soviet Union, and then they went on to talk about their life. Like, she just referenced an event that was far away from them, but it's actually very important and related to the plot because, first of all, it's something that it indicates the power structure was changing in the world at that time, and it echoes the power structure of their community. And the second reason is it gives you the reader an idea of what time the author is talking about. I feel like that's so brilliant. Yeah, when I heard that sentence, I was like, this little insert is so smart and so unexpected, but also so relevant. And I just love the whole series about this, about the writing, and I've always loved the background stories, equally, if not more, than the emotions and relationship between the two main characters, which the friendship was first to that draw people in. But to me, it's fascinating to read about the different political parties between their community and also the world event that has happened around the same time. So yeah, I have 20% left, and I don't know if I'm ready to let it go, but I guess I'll find it out tomorrow or if not sooner. Hi guys, it's Wednesday morning and I just want to give you an update about the best we could do because I have finished this book last night, and also I want to show off this hoodie that I got from the Met Museum. I was debating on if I want to get it for like 3 days, but then in the end I was like, I don't want to regret this. Let me just grab the hoodie because I really like the color. Usually I'm not a big fan of like a cut picture in a hoodie or a t-shirt, but this one is something special. I think maybe it's the power of Bengal, I don't know. Anyhow, I have finished The Best We Could Do, and this is such a brilliant book. This book is awesome in a lot of levels, narratively and also artistically, and I was so into this book emotionally. However, I didn't cry through the entire book until the very end. And I don't know why I cried in the end either, because it's not that different or that rendered on your emotions in the last chapter. I just feel like after the author concluded her family story, the power of family love just got into me. And the whole book makes me understanding a quote from the beginning of the book is that family is not what I was born into, but what I need to create from now. And I just feel like the whole things that parents would do for their children to make a better life for them is so powerful, and to protect them in all causes. It's something that I witnessed my friends who became parents do too. Like sometimes I feel like when they become parents, their thought process are like switched overnight, and they just like put their kids in front of everything, of course. But this book just really advanced my imagination for family love, for parents love, and really emphasized my understanding of how a lot of times we see as kids, we see parents as parents, but they are full adults too. Like sometimes we want your parents to respect you as adult or something, but a lot of times you forgot that your parents have their own story. And this one is really saying that, and all the traumas that carved into every parent in their house, and also carved into their generation and her parents' generation. It's just so bold and also so powerful. Yeah, I really like this book, and I'm glad I read it, although I didn't get to discuss it with the book club. And the reading plan for today is to keep listening to the book The Story of the Lost Child. I really like this book too. I have a feeling that I will have at least 2 5-star books from this vlog. I have about 10% of listening left, and I have to be honest, if I didn't stop myself intentionally yesterday, I'll finish the whole book, because we are get to the point where I couldn't stop listening. And I have been saying that for the whole book though, but things are really getting intense, and the last 10% of the last book of this epic series, I don't know what to expect, but I'm really excited for it. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will update you guys later. Hey guys, I'm wrapping up the workday. I have to give the painting a little bit of time for it to dry a little bit to add more details, but this is the progress for today. And I also finished reading The Story of the Lost Child. So hard to describe my feelings right now, but I feel like I am stunned by the ability of the author of how she could just give the titles of each book multiple meanings. It feels like an onion. You keep discovering layers and layers of meanings of the title of the book, of each plot, and she kept referencing events that happened in the prior books, which is amazing, and I just loved it for that. And I'm so nostalgia about this book, although I just finished it. I couldn't believe. In the end, the author writes something about the narrator writes something about she didn't think she will finish the everlasting story because it seems like it will never end, but yet the book and also their story ended. But I just feel so grateful that I'm spending these times with these characters, and I don't know. I'm still like very sunk into the emotions and the feelings that this book gives me. For sure, the whole series is 5-star series, and I like every book. I know a lot of people I follow, they like the first book more, and a lot of people are focusing on the relationships between the two main characters. However, to me, it's not only, I keep saying that, it's not only the relationship between the characters, it's the whole era, the whole generation, the whole time within this series that really moved me and touched me. I'm really I don't know, it's so hard to describe. That means I ran out of audiobooks to listen to the following days, so I also picked up Parables of the Sewer from my library. This book is by Octavia A. Butler. I picked up this physical book last year, and I wanted to dive into Octavia A. Butler's writing because I have heard so many good things about her, but she wrote mostly science fiction, I believe, but this book is actually the closest to our real life, which is, I think, is a better way for me to ease into a science fiction because it's not my usual genre. And this is a story in a dystopian society already, and it's about a girl who lives with her family in a bordered city or something where they were one of the few survivors, and she started to do things in order to survive, I believe. And I'm really looking forward to it, but it will be tomorrow. And tonight, I'll find some times to read The Empire of Pain, which is the nonfiction of this week. I haven't really read it yet, but it's only Wednesday, so I think I still have time to finish it. But I do have other plans for tonight. For example, I need to learn some Japanese. I haven't got time to revise the lessons that I took on Monday. So this is Wednesday. So I need to get into the game again. And also, I ordered another cart for my studio because if you notice, I'm borrowing a stool from the kitchen, but I don't want to keep it forever here. So I ordered another cart for my studio. I might need to put it together and also do some document things for a trip that's coming up. So I'll talk to you guys later with a reading update. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Hi friends, it's Thursday and a little bit of change of plan here. Yesterday I was talking about how I'm gonna listening to the Octavia E. Butler's book, but last night I went to read The Empire of Pain and I counted the pages. It's actually a 500 pages book, which I didn't realize because the page is so thin. And I read nonfiction fairly slow. Like in general, a very slow reader in English. If I read really carefully, I can read only like 30 pages per hour, which a 500 hours book 500 pages book will take me like about 16 hours to read. So I just got this idea of like, why don't I just grab the audiobook of this from the library? And luckily, my library has the audiobook of The Empire of Pain. So I will put the Octavia E. Butler's audiobook to next week and also and start to listen to Empire of Pain when I was painting. However, I did read physically last night. I didn't get too far though. I'm only at page 36 of the book, but the book, I haven't got to like really how the business of the Sackler families are done in the days. I'm still in the stories that way before they started and how the family was like original created because the two people are met and they fall in love and something like that. But it's so bizarre. History of medicine and science sometimes give me a very peculiar vibe. For example, on page 30 in my edition, it says, just a few decades earlier, the superintendent of a state hospital in New Jersey has become convinced that the way to cure insanity was to remove a patient's teeth. Like, what? Like, how? And why? And later on, the superintendent decided that removing person's teeth will not cure the insanity because it's not enough. So he went on and removed the patient's other things, for example, torsos, gallbladders, appendix, something tubes that I cannot pronounce. And in the end, he killed no patients with these experiments, but he did kill more than hundreds of them. And when I read that, I was like, why did people think of that? But when I think about how George Washington was died because of blood releasing therapy or something, I just feel like look at how far we've come in medicine. However, in the paragraph following, it says the electric shock therapy was used in treating depression and other mental illness, which I know because I've read the Red Comet, the biography of the writer Sylvia Plath, and she has this depression and she went through a serious period of electrical shock therapies. However, what I did know is the electric shock therapies are still treating major depressions these days, according to this book. I'm stunned. You guys all know that I have depression. I live with this for many years now, but I've never think that if things get more severe, maybe one of the options is, I say option, air quote option though, is to have electric shock therapy. I'm shocked right now. Yeah, so it's just so bizarre and I can't wait to read more. And I'm sorry about Octavia E. Butler, but I have to read her books next week. Just want to update you guys on that. And today I will just work on the painting. I have a Japanese group class this evening, so I'll be doing that in the evening. See you guys later. Hi guys, it's Friday afternoon, much later than my usual check-in time in this vlog. I don't know, but this morning when I woke up, I just felt really grumpy. I don't know if you have those days where you wake up and you don't feel like yourself. I had one of those mornings, so I didn't really have energy to update you guys. Maybe it's also my questionable life choices of playing video games last night with my friends till very late. So anyhow, I kind of regret to do it, although I had fun, but I don't know if I'm gonna do it in any other work days in the future. But I have finished the painting. Let me show you. So this is the tree landscape that I actually finished it yesterday, and I'm just letting it dry on the wall. Let me know, what do you think? Do you like it? Which one do you like better, the mountain one or the sea? And also, I have a reading update about Empire of the Pain. I don't think I'll finish it in this vlog because I don't think it is a book that you can binge reading it. I'm only at page 180, so it's about 1/3 of the book, and it's a heavy biographical nonfiction. So it's talking about the Sackler family who pretty much contributed to the opium crisis in America. And I just feel like there's so many man-made egos in this family, especially for Arthur Sackler. And I don't know about you, but whenever I read about or hear about stories of very ambitious people who think about success all the time or who think about their legacy after their death, I'm really tired. Which is ironic because Hamilton is thinking about his legacy all the time, and it's my favorite musical, but it's also, I know it's different from historical facts, right? But this one is pretty much like based on the author as the facts that he researched. So I'm really exhausted when reading it. One example in the book, which also makes me feel very interesting, that I picked up this book in New York City, and also I feel like I wanted to almost read this book earlier before I go to New York City because I spent so many days in the Met Museum that I told you about earlier in this vlog. However, one of the galleries apparently was named or like built or like donated by Arthur Sackler, and it was the Asian wing. And I don't know if his name was still there, but I was in the Asian gallery in the Met because, you know, of course. And besides the fabulous Asian Chinese display, there's also a really great Japanese ongoing display right now for a lot of Japanese culture. So I spent half a day in that wing, and I didn't remember the gallery was named after whom. So I kind of wanted to know this fact before I picked up this book, but I also make a very peculiar sense that I pick up this book in a trip in New York City, and I read it right after, right? So I just feel like it's interesting line of fate. Well, like I said, because it's Friday afternoon, so I'm actually ready to wrap up this vlog. I wasn't able to finish all the 3 books in my TBR, but I'm also happy because they're all very chunky. But let's recap. I did finish The Best We Could Do. This is a graphic memoir by T. Bui about her family running away from the war-torn Vietnam to America and how she was finding out her parents' story throughout her story, making peace with the family history and finding the strength to go forward. I really like it. It's a 5-star for me. I kind of expected it because I like graphic memoirs and everybody is talking great things about this, but I just didn't expect that in some of the chapters it got really intense and I just feel like my heart was gripped by something. It's a super heavy book, but it's really well worth reading. And the second book I read in this vlog is The Story of the Lost Child by Elena Ferrante, translated by Anne Golston, and this book is still great book. I'm not sure if I want to continue watching the TV series though after read the whole series because I get a lot of emphasis from the TV series or people's reaction from the TV series that is talking about people's relationship and friendship, but I do want to make this book more about the turbulent time that Italy was going through. So I want to leave the memory of the book there, and I want to also talk about that aspect of the book more. Anyhow, I don't know about the TV show though. If you have read the TV show, if you have watched the TV show, please let me know down below that is the TV show more emphasis on the relationships of people, of the characters, or it also shows the greatness of this book because I just feel like it's a genius book, especially when you can easily relate the things that happened in Italy when the author was making reference to the things that happened around the world. And the third book that I haven't finished but I'm really liking is The Empire of the Pain. This is the secret history of the Sackler dynasty. To be honest, I didn't really know a lot of the things happened. I didn't know a lot of the details in the opium crisis that happened in America, but I also weirdly started to see a lot of information about that besides this book ever since I started reading it. So it's very interesting. I don't know if this book will be a 5-star for me though, because it takes a lot for a biography to be a 5-star for me. I've only, I think, gave one biography 5 stars. That's a red comic talking about the life of Sylvia Plath, only because there's a lot of reference to Sylvia Plath's poetry. So this one, I don't know, but I think it's at least a 4 stars. And that concludes my readings for the week. I'm so glad to have you guys with me and to have all the reactions of me of the 3 books that I was reading documented here. And also please let me know if you liked me showing my progress of the art in vlog like these. I really had fun showing them, but I just don't know because it's the first time that I have done this. I have included them in the vlog. But thanks so much for watching. Thumbs up if you like this video, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, bye!